1. The stillness before the voice. Elijah had always liked quiet places. That evening, he walked the worn path up the hill behind his grandmother's cottage, the same hill he'd climbed as a child. The soles of his old leather shoes whispered against the dry grass. The world had gone still, the kind of stillness that comes only at night in the countryside, where the air is cool and thick with pine, and where crickets chirp like clocks measuring something slower than time. He reached the top just before the moon rose. It was full and low, rising slowly above the trees like someone waking from sleep. Elijah sat on the flat stone he remembered from his youth, worn smooth by decades of weather, and looked up. He had not come here for answers. He had come because something inside him had gone quiet, a kind of silence not found in the world, but in the center of a person, a quiet that felt more like an ache. And then, without sound, without words, the moon spoke, not in language, not in syllables or thoughts, but something inside Elijah stirred, a gentle pull like a tide inside his chest. He closed his eyes. The moon, it seemed, remembered him.
The first time he listened. It wasn't the first time he'd felt something speak without sound. When he was 12, Elijah had spent a summer at his grandmother's house. One night, too restless to sleep, he'd crept out and followed the fireflies to the same hill. That night, the moon had been half full, wearing its curved smile. He'd felt it then, too, that soft, unseen voice. But children don't know what to call those things. At 12, he simply sat until the mosquitoes grew bold and sleep called him home. Now, years later, with a life lived between then and now, jobs taken, promises broken, friendships faded, he felt the same hum, and this time he stayed with it. The voice, if it could be called that, was patient. It didn't rush him. It didn't press. It waited, the way only time and the moon can wait. And slowly, Elijah found himself thinking less, not because he tried to clear his mind, but because his thoughts simply didn't stick. Worries, regrets, errands, all of it slid off like rain from glass. There was only breath, and sky, and silver.
3. Questions without answers. When the moonlight settled on him, he felt its weight. Not heavy, but full, like a blanket laid over the soul. It asked no questions. It offered no advice. And yet, Elijah began to speak. Quietly at first, then aloud. Why does life get so noisy? His voice sounded strange in the open air. The moon, as expected, did not answer, but something inside him answered in return. Because you stopped listening. He didn't know if it was a thought or a memory or something deeper, but it felt true. He sat in the hush and thought of his apartment in the city, the emails, the notifications, the hum of traffic. Even his mind had become a crowded street. And now, in the presence of this enormous silence, he realized how long he had gone without hearing anything real. What am I supposed to do? He asked. And again, there was no reply. But his own breath slowed. His hands relaxed. And he felt, for the first time in months, that it was okay not to know.
4. The memory of small things. The moonlight touched everything equally. The pine trees, the dirt path, the stone beneath him. It made no judgments. It simply illuminated. Elias's thoughts drifted toward small, forgotten things. The smell of baking bread in his grandmother's kitchen, the sound of rain on a tin roof, the way his mother used to hum when folding laundry. None of these things were extraordinary, but in the stillness, they returned like fireflies, soft, glowing, unhurried. He realized he missed that part of himself, the part that could enjoy nothing in particular. The moon seemed to nod. Maybe that was what it wanted to say, that we are always racing, always becoming, always proving, and in that rush, we forget the art of simply being. So he let the memories stay a while. Let them stretch out like tired cats in a patch of sun. There was no hurry now, not on the hill, not under the moon.
5. A truth as soft as moss. Hours passed, though they felt like minutes. Elia leaned back against the grass. The sky above him was thick with stars, but the moon still claimed the center. Its light made shadows gentle. The voice, if that's what it was, offered him no great revelation, only a kind of presence, a quiet truth, not spoken, but shared. You are allowed to rest. And that simple truth unraveled knots inside him he hadn't known were there. You don't need to be impressive. You don't need to be loud. You don't need to chase every answer. Just be here. Just breathe. Just listen. He let that truth settle like moss over stone.
6. The walk home. Eventually, the cold crept in, gentle but firm, as if reminding him that even peace has its boundaries. Elias stood slowly. His body creaked like old wood. He looked at the moon one last time and whispered, "Thank you." It said nothing, but he knew it heard. He walked down the hill, not quickly, not slowly, just moving in rhythm with the night. The windows of his grandmother's cottage glowed warm against the dark. A kettle waited inside, maybe tea, maybe silence. He didn't need anything else. And though the world hadn't changed, and his life would return with all its noise and demands, something inside him had shifted. A part of him had remembered how to listen. And on quiet nights, when the city was asleep and the clouds pulled back just enough, he could still hear the whisper. Not a command, not a sermon, just the moon reminding him, "You are here, and that is enough."